Good morning and welcome to Morning Coffee with Brigid. I'm Brigid Burke and it is the 12th of April, 2025. We are at the full moon in Libra and we are just one day away from Venus turning direct. Thank the gods, because it has been quite a ride these last few, I don't know, these last few weeks, actually last couple of months really. Maybe all of 2025. Let's be realistic here, and probably a little bit before. But especially this retrograde. We always talk about it, and then there's people who will say to you, "Oh, well, yeah, stuff happens during retrograde, but it happens other times as well." And yeah, there's a truth to that for sure. It's not just one thing, but it's just, but dealing with the retrogrades and stuff, it's just, I don't know. This one has just been an absolute doozy. So I'm very grateful that Venus is going to go direct. Mind you, everything is still sluggish. So we're going to have until at least late April to early May before we're really seeing things move along again. But this is kind of where we're at the moment. And good morning, Joanne. Good to see you. Yeah, so today is in fact the full moon in Libra. And so I thought that what I wanted to do for today was to do a a reading. I wanted to do another. I think we're probably, as we're getting to the end of the retrogrades and we have this full moon in Libra, which some astrologers have called this a very difficult moon. They said that this one is a bit challenging, but we're getting ready for a number of other things. Mars is getting ready to move into Leo. And Joanne, you had sent me something the other day. I think it was Michael Lennox. Is that his name? He's an astrologer who was talking about when the nodes connect up. When they connect up with Mars, it's kind of like now you've got forward movement and you've got action. And I think a lot of us have felt like there hasn't been a whole lot of forward movement or action, or you just feel like we're drowning in some way. It's like we're trying to move forward with stuff, and it's just like, I just feel like we're in this space that is not. I don't know. It just feels like it's been like either there's just been a lot of obstacles, a lot of weird things. I'm finding even this week, Joanne says yes. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of weird technological things that have gone on. Yesterday was weird. I had gone out yesterday, and when I came home, I took a nap. And when I got up, I was trying to do some things. Like I was trying to set up, we have a dream workshop today. And of course, I know you're going to be joining. Anybody who joins later, of course, and it's going to be, Joanne, it's going to be you, myself, and Ellen as of right now, and then we'll see if anybody else is going to jump on. If anybody else wants to join the dream workshop this morning, they're definitely. I feel like maybe like 4 or 5 is a good size group. So if there's anybody else who wants to get in on the group, we do still have some time for that. If people want to message me this morning, I can set that up. But yeah, it's definitely been, I think I got up and I was trying to create Zoom links, and it was like all of a sudden, like all my calendars disappeared. And then I went in and I couldn't find, awesome. I love Ellen. Yes, she's, Ellen's wonderful. Yeah. So I'm so glad that we're going to have her on. But yesterday was just really there was just so many weird things, one right after the other, and I'm like, why is this doing this? But as I said, Mercury is direct, but still, there's still going to be that post shadow weirdness for a couple of weeks. So we'll see what comes of that. But welcome to anybody else who's joined. I mean, I see there's a few people on. Right now, I only see comments from Joanne, but I am going to do something. I do life coaching. I do spiritual coaching. I guess it's a subcategory of life coaching. Life coaching, I feel like might be more about. I feel like it's more like people, setting up their career goals or certain other things that they're reaching. I tend to deal more specifically with spiritual stuff. So yeah, I am a coach who works in that area. So what I was going to do today, as I was saying earlier on, for the we're going to do a full moon, full horoscope spread, just to see where we're at, because I feel like we're at a point where we probably need to, I think we kind of could use a little, I tend to think of the full horoscope spreads as being I tend to think of them as something where I can get a snapshot. That's the word I'm looking for this morning. It's you wouldn't think this was the second cup of coffee. Kind of you get a snapshot of where we're at right now now that the retrogrades are over, and we'll see where we're at. Joanne, I don't know if you're saying show or snow. I mean, I can tell you that it's snowing out here right now, which is annoying to me. That's another whole topic. Like it's April. I mean, snow had its chance before, but I mean, it's not sticking really much to anything. But yeah, it's kind of annoying. So let's do a full horoscope spread and see what Cartouche has to say for this. Now that we're getting to the end of the retrogrades, now that we're at this full moon in Libra. And like I said, the rest of April is probably going to be challenging right up until the end, but let's just kind of see what we get as a general thing. So this is going to be full horoscope spread, kind of general collective reading. So, some of these things may. So let's do this. Oh, this is interesting. Ooh. All right. Okay. So it's snow, rain, but mention it. Oh, you meant, okay, I see what you're saying. Now I understand. Sorry, I did see the emoji, but I didn't quite, like I said, I'm reading things on this little screen, and I'm not processing them very well this morning. So yeah, it's well, I never remember what happened yesterday. We had a long conversation yesterday. I had a long conversation with Joanne about stuff that went on yesterday. So yeah, it's been a little bit of that. Okay, so let's do our full moon reading, and I'm going to start here with the first house with Cartouche. In our first house, we have Nephthys. Okay, so Nephthys, okay, that's our Piscean energy. Yeah, that's that sense that we don't quite. When Nephthys comes up, this is like almost like having your head in the cloud. Like we don't really quite know where we are. In the house of identity, there's a sense of who am I and where am I going? Okay, it's still early. Yeah, you're not kidding. It's kind of like where are we going? Okay, when Nephthys comes up, it's almost like we kind of, this is more like what we're sensing rather than what we're understanding analytically. Nephthys has to do with what is perceived almost mystically, like what's perceived more psychically, rather than what we can concretely see and plan for in front of us. And it often indicates that there's more to be revealed about something. Like Nephthys is like that, like the veil that's drawn, and you'll talk about the things behind door number 1, 2, or 3. It's like Nephthys is the doors. It's like what's behind that door. We don't quite know what it is yet. And this is in the house of identity. So there's a lot that's going on right now where maybe we've been questioning ourselves. Maybe things we've always believed are kind of like we're kind of in doubt. And he says, "How are you, mate? I'm great, thanks." It's we're in this space where we're not feeling like we know what we're doing and where we're going. So yeah, so if you've been feeling that way, I mean, you're definitely in good company with that. Okay, our second house. Okay, now this is one of the houses where Venus has been retrograde, and like I said, Venus goes direct tomorrow if you've joined late. That's one of the things we've been kind of talking about, and that's the reason we're doing this reading, along with it being the full moon. Urias is a card of what's not expected, or what's not seen. We've got 2 cards in a row here of what's unexpected. Now, I would compare Urias to, it sometimes has the force of the Tower, in the sense that it's something we're suddenly awakened to, but it can also just mean that something is not what it appears to be. And sometimes we think we know something, or we know a direction that we're going in with something, and it turns out that, the way that we think it is either not the way it is at all, or a judgment that we have made, there may be some unexpected circumstance. Hello from Denmark. Oh, hello, Sigrid. Good to have you on. Yes, it's yeah. There's definitely this sense here with Urias in the second house. This is like an expect the unexpected kind of card. I guess maybe that's the summary way I could talk about it. And it's in the house of finance, and it's also in the house of our personal values. And remember, with Venus retrograde, there's a lot of people who have been questioning what they value. A lot of people who are questioning, the role of money in their lives. I mean, certainly there's been a lot of economic upheaval in a lot of places, and this has to do with our personal finances. It's Taurian energy. And remember, Uranus is also in Taurus, so it's kind of interesting that this shows up here. And again, I don't know that I want to specifically call this card a card of Uranus, but it does have that sense that what we think is happening is generally not exactly the way it is. You know, we have an idea of how things are, and you know, and not and the way we think it is, there may be a twist surprise here. You know, there may be a little bit of an ending here. And Kathleen is on. Good morning. Good to see you. We're just starting our full horoscope spread here for the full moon in Libra, and also for the fact that Venus will be ending its retrograde period, which I think has been tough for all of us in a lot of ways. So we've got so we've got this. This is in our second house. So I would say overall, yeah, we've got Nepothys in the first house. So there's this sense of who am I? What am I doing? Where am I going? Stuff that still has yet to be revealed or uncovered. Urias also may suggest that there's something to be revealed and uncovered. And this is, like I said, in the area of our values and our finances. Now, the good news about Urias is that it's not, sometimes this card comes up when we need to be cautious. Sometimes it comes up when we need to be very honest about something. But it does tend to represent a hidden factor. And when I see it there, it suggests to me that that it's very much that there could be a twist ending that is to our benefit. You know, that we may, that the surprise may actually be a happy surprise. Usually that's what happens. I'll just give you an example. I remember when I first quit my job and I was trying to get my finances organized through the university I had just left, because they had to, we had to, get certain things certified, and I had to get certain payments in, and I was trying to do this from England, and it was a nightmare trying to do that, and I was very, very worried that I wasn't going to have, and I was like thinking, oh no, oh my God, nobody's getting back to me. What if this happens? What if this happens? You know how we all do that. And I did a cartouche spread, and the outcome, and I kept getting Urias. It was just kind of like, yeah, things are not what they look like. And then all of a sudden the next day, boom, 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 everything was just there. And then all of a sudden there ended up being more there than I had expected there to be. So that's what I mean. Sometimes Urias represents a good surprise with regard to these things. So it may be saying that things are better than they appear. Now, speaking of things connected to I don't know, potentially to finances and stuff, let's look at the third house here. And this is the Gemini energy. Third house has to do with communications. It has to do with messages that we've received. It can have to do with things in our local community. It can have to do with our brothers and sisters. If you happen to have siblings, it can be connected to that. Things having to do with Mercury. Remember, Mercury's also been retrograde. So we've been experiencing retrograde energy in the second and the third house. And we have Earth here. Okay. So what's literally coming into my mind as I'm looking at this card is to remain grounded. When it comes to messages that are coming in, we are going to be coming up on next week a Mars-Pluto opposition. The third, there were three big ones. One was around the American election day. There was another one, I think, in January, and now this is the last one. But those can be very jarring. They tend to be, I think I've heard astrologers describe it as a very black and white event. You know, my bestie from Denmark, Sigrid, is here. Oh, I was wondering if that's who she was. Okay, yes. So again, welcome, Sigrid. It's very, very glad to have you on. Glad you could join us. And when I saw her name, I was wondering. I said, I wonder if that's Joanne's friend from Denmark. So, so very cool. Very happy she could join. You could join us today. So okay, so yeah, so we've got this this third house here. Yeah, there's a sense here that we need to remain grounded when the Earth card comes up. We're not, and I kind of almost hear Steve Judd saying, the astrologer Steve Judd saying, don't believe anything you hear right now. Yeah, I feel like there's a strong sense that we need to be careful what we're taking in and how we're interpreting those messages. We want to make sure that we've got our feet on the ground and we have all the facts about something before we accept it. I feel like now there's going to be a time that we're definitely getting into this period of time, as I was talking about with the Mars Pluto, where things are going to become very, very inflamed. And there's going to be a lot of power plays, and media already is something that's very, very difficult to trust. So yeah, it's very it's just very there's definitely a strong sense that we need to keep our wits about us. Actually, looking back at Urias in the context of that, that might also, because I think a lot of this too is economic. Okay, there's a lot that's going around. There's a lot of, it's an economic roller coaster going back and forth right now. And so, yeah, I just feel like it's telling us to be cautious. Be cautious, be aware. It will be exciting and interesting to dive into that project as what to be. Yeah, and actually Joanne was telling me a little bit about that project the other day, and it does sound really, really interesting. So if I have anything I can offer you guys on that, I know that was something I was thinking about in the last couple of days. Yeah, so let me just, I don't want people on here who are trying to distract me with other stuff. No offense, but yeah, just no, I can't talk right now. But yeah, we get these kind of random people jumping in, not necessarily always with negative comments, but with distracting comments. So, okay. Yeah, keeping our feet on the ground with regard to messages and to what we're hearing right now. Now, the fourth house is interesting. This is the house of Cancer energy. This is home and family. And this is also about, yeah, can have to do with our physical home, can have to do with our family, can have to do with the mother. There's anything we can think of that's Cancerian. Generally, it has to do with our sense of security and how we feel at home. Okay, and with a lot of things. And we have Seth appearing here. Okay, so where Seth appears, Seth is kind of scorpionic energy, but in Cartouche, it tends to be, Seth is the Stormbringer. So he's the one who brings a disruptive kind of energy. And it's interesting that it's with Horus, because I start thinking about the myth of Seth and Horus and the battle between Seth and Horus. Because Horus is the child of Osiris and Isis, and Seth, of course, is the uncle who they are at war with each other over rulership. And and eventually and Isis ends up being very forgiving towards Set, which Horus gets very angry at her for in the actual myth. But Horus, in terms of what it means in the Cartouche deck, has to do with family. It has to do with home. It has to do with healing things in the family, or it may have to do with those connections. So the fact that we're seeing Seth here, this suggests to me that there's either going to be some kind of upsets within a family situation. There could be delays over something. Sometimes when Seth shows up, there could be an anxiety. There could be tension between family members. But again, and the fact that Horus shows up with it makes me think that this is most definitively about a family or possibly even ancestral thing. And not for example, specifically about something happening to your physical house. Because there is sometimes this does literally represent your physical space. Like if you're renovating, for example, it might show up here in the fourth house, something like that. But this feels more like it's definitely got a family vibe. I do know that a lot of people who have been watching the live streams, and even people who I've been working with as clients, have been indicating to me that there has been stuff, even if it's not like a direct family problem, like, oh, I'm having issues with my family, or we're angry, or whatever. It's it doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm fighting with my mother, or I'm fighting with my sister, or it doesn't have to be that, but it could even just be something in our ancestry that's affecting us. So if you've had certain things, I know this week there's been a lot of talk about triggers, like childhood triggers and things like that. So yeah, so sometimes this it can also indicate that as well, things that relate back to our childhood or things that relate back to that that can be problematic for us right now. But Horus does indicate healing ultimately. So it does feel like there may be certain woundings right now that are there to that are might be being exposed for the purpose of being healed. Okay. So let's move on to the 5th house. And the 5th house is okay, this is the house of Leo energy. So let's see. Okay, we've got some interesting people on today. So we've got the 5th house here, and the 5th house has to do with what you call it? Okay, Leo energy, how we're seen. Okay, how we appear to others has to do with creativity, can have to do with children, can have to do with love affairs. It has to do with how we see, you know, how certain people are, how people perceive us, what we are recognized for. Creatively, what are we doing? And okay, get rid of that idiot. Okay, so yeah, so this is a, what you call it? So we've got this this energy of being recognized, right? We've got this energy of what are we doing creatively? Now, interestingly, when Sirius shows up here, Sirius in this house sometimes actually has to do literally with sport or with playing sports. So for some people, you know, this can be something that is creative that is expressed physically. And maybe that applies for some people. Maybe there's, you know, maybe there are people who are, I don't know, participating in sports events or competitions or something like that. Sometimes when Sirius shows up there, that's what it has to do with. But more broadly speaking, I would say that this is when I see Sirius show up, but to me it involves a certain level of work. And hello from Manhattan. Oh, hello, nice to see you. This is Sirius is this energy of where we have to put work into something, or we have to open our mind with regard to something. There's some energy here of trying to think outside the box a little bit. It can also indicate that we are dealing with something or expressing something very, very physically. No, actually, I cannot teach you that. So I'm going to go away. And yeah, so we've got this idea of something that is going to be expressed physically in some fashion. So I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I feel like I'm hanging on the 5th house here. There's going to be challenges. They're either going to be, I feel like there's going to be some challenges either around children or around something that we're trying to create. Could be around a relationship, or there could be a strong physicality. Sometimes this shows up when there's a love affair where there's a strong physical attraction too. That can be a thing as well. So yeah. So in any case, this is, but I feel like when Sirius shows up, it means there's some hoops to jump through, some level of something that we have to go through, or some way that we have to rethink or do things differently. And, you know, and so, yeah. So what are you doing that's going to be different? So, yeah, so expect certain challenges with regard to that. So for some of you, it could have to do with your children. Some of it could have to do with love affairs. For other people, it might have to just do with the way in which we're maybe working hard at getting recognized for something that we're doing. But it may be that we need to take a different approach. Okay, 6th house. Let's move on. 6th house is has to do with our health. It can have to do with our the sense of worry or anxiety that we might have. It can have to do with our jobs. It's Virgo energy. So anything that's really connected to Virgo, we have connected to the 6th house. And the card we have here is water. And that's an interesting one for Virgo, because Virgo tends to be a very perfectionist kind of energy. And when we have water here, there's a sense that our emotions are very involved in something. So we could be beating ourselves up at this point because we're not doing something exactly right, or we feel that we're not. There's like strong emotions that may be coming up around things we are worried about or things that we are concerned about. So yeah, so there's definitely a a vibe of that we need to go with the flow with something. And we also need to allow our emotions to kind of express themselves. A lot of times what we want to do, maybe we don't feel it's appropriate to express our emotions about certain things, but there's definitely a need to let something out. Like, we're ending this period of reevaluation, and a lot of the strong feelings that we have, we need to kind of work through in that particular sense. Okay, now this is interesting. In the seventh house is the house of our relationships. Okay. And we have Ankh here. So, okay, I'm seeing Sirius in the 5th and Ankh in the 7th. So for people who are single, I feel like this is a strong energy of perhaps a physical attraction that leads to a more committed relationship. Okay, because Ankh usually showing up here, Ankh or the twins showing up in that house usually is an indicator of love. Okay, so that might apply for somebody, not necessarily for everybody. For people who are already in relationships, or that's not part of the equation, I would say that Ankh suggests that our joy comes somewhere from. Geez, the dumb questions this morning. Okay, there's definitely a kind of there's an energy here of your joy coming from a relationship with somebody else. Okay. Remember, the 7th house too, though, is Libra, and Libra also has to do with being in balance. So balancing has to do with, this could just literally be, karmic reward rather than karmic, rather than we always tend to think of karma as a very negative thing, right? But this might be more of a positive karma. And it may be something that's expressed through a connection with somebody else. Does not have to be a love connection. Could just be somebody else who you are very close to, could be a close friend, could be a spouse, could be somebody who you are working on a project with, or you could be in business with. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities here. 7th house tends to deal with legalized relationships, but it doesn't, but my experience, it doesn't necessarily have to be that particular relationship. Whatever it is, there's definitely a strong sense of joy that is to be attained through connection of some kind, or also through trying to attain some kind of balance. Okay, so the 8th house, this is Scorpio energy. Okay, and this has to do with transformation in particular. It is a house that is the birth and death house, kind of do with other people's money and things like that. And we have the wing disc here. So the wing disc is, this scorpionic energy. And for this to show up here, this is like a successful passage or a successful conclusion to something. It's the idea that, some ending and some beginning, that the shift takes place successfully. So this suggests to me that whatever period of transformation we're going through, we're going to complete it successfully, which is good. That's good news. That suggests that whatever's going on right now, wherever the difficulties are, and again, if I'm just going to look at this reading, certainly in the 4th house, there's a sense that some of this could have to be around letting go of issues from the past and things like that. So so there's definitely the sense that we are moving ahead and moving into this different kind of space here, where we are going to be able to successfully surmount whatever challenges are going on right now. Okay, so let's go into the 9th house. This is Sagittarius energy. Sagittarius energy it's about how we expand our horizons. If the 3rd house is about what's local, then okay. Is there I feel like there's some, I don't think we have Kelsey on today. I don't know if she's on moderating today, but there's a lot of really weird people. This is the thing about weekend live streams, is that you either get a lot of bots on, or you just get a lot of random weird people logging in. And I blocked them on the restream end, but I don't know if they're blocked on the YouTube end or not. So, I mean, they should be, but I don't know if they actually are. So, okay. So we've got this, Sagittarius in the 9th house. Ninth house has to do with expanding horizons. It has to do with it has to do with the way in which we are. Yeah, okay. If the one is local, this is more about how we, go long distance travel, higher education, spirituality, things that are of a deeper kind of a nature. Sagittarius also has to do with freedom and how free that we feel. And so, so we have Hathor here, and Hathor is this energy of, okay, in that house, this is very strongly feminine energy, obviously. So to me, this is about the influence of the feminine. So feminine, okay, when we talk about the feminine in a more of an archetypal sense, which I think is what this is, okay? This is Hathor in this particular space. I feel like it's about what we are receiving, okay? It's about the energy that we are receiving. Sometimes it has to do with astrology, actually, more esoteric astrology. But there's an idea here that we gain our freedom through what we are, for what we are willing to be open to receive. There's been a lot about that lately, about learning things not through analysis, but through understanding. And so there's definitely a strong energy connected to that. I mean, on a more mundane level, Hathor could have to do with feminine energy at a distance, right? There could be somebody at a distance who is important. Maybe somebody's paying a visit to somebody. Hathor does have strong mother energy too, but it can also be just somebody who's a female. So like I said, on the most mundane level, it could mean something like that. But I feel like on a more general level, Hathor is about willing to be open, willing to be receptive. It has to do with our energy of, it's a very strongly aesthetic energy. It has a very strong Empress vibe about planting seeds, about the things that we are trying to manifest, and the way in which we try to create it's not so much like Ta, which is about more like physical, like building of a foundation, a form and a structure. This is more about building things more through being open to the mystery of what's going on. So yeah, so we have that. So our 10th house now has to do with Capricorn energy. And once again, we have another strong feminine card here. We have Isis. 10th house is the, what you call it? 10th house has to do with the career. It's Capricorn energy. It's very Saturnian. And this has to do with our public face, what we are doing, what we give back to society. Okay, the 5th house has to do with creative things that we're recognized for. 10th house has to do with what we are trying to present to, what kind of gifts and talents we bring to the public sphere. Oftentimes it's an area of having to do with your career. And with Isis here, yeah, again, there's this idea of passivity. Okay, we had put this in the 1st house, okay? So this is about us kind of being in this space where we can't observe things concretely. We are being asked to keep our feet on the ground with the Earth in the 3rd house, but there's definitely a sense here of having compassion for others, that we may be in a space of nurturing, of trying to be helpful to others, okay? And so with Isis here, I feel like there's this energy of, what you call it? It's just this, it's this energy of having patience with others. And there may be a focus for some people. This could be a focus on a motherly role or on doing something connected to that. Like I've done readings for people who have had looking for career advice. And sometimes this is somebody who's going to be like a birth doula or somebody who's involved with women or women's issues in some way. So sometimes that comes up quite literally in that way. But again, the more general meaning of Isis here, I would say the more general meaning is that is a need to be patient with whatever it is that we're doing. To whatever path we're on, we just need to keep putting one foot in front of the other, to be patient and to be patient with others. Okay, because there could be, yeah, this is definitely a time when things are still. Good morning from California. Good morning. So yeah, so now moving on to the 11th house. This is our friendships. This is our, what you call it? This is our hopes and wishes. This is our social networks, things like that. This is Aquarian energy in the 11th house, and we have Anubis here. So Anubis is interesting because Anubis is a protector, and Anubis is someone, he's an energy that is a guiding energy, okay, guiding us through difficulties. When you are in a space where you don't exactly know where you're going, Anubis is the one, like I said, has kind of a Hecate kind of function, like helps you see in the dark. It helps you see where you're going. And so having Anubis here, I feel like this is also, though, about setting appropriate boundaries. I feel like there's been a lot that we've been looking at in terms of friendships, finding out who people really are, and knowing what can be negotiated and where we would need to set our boundaries. So there may have been a lot of that that's going on. I do actually think that's the case. There's been a lot of situations, like, again, that I've been hearing about from clients, that I could talk about in my own life, and just even friends, where there's a sense that, you know, some people have shown us exactly who they are. And so Anubis is definitely about seeing something very, very clearly. So yeah, so we're definitely in the space of trying to see clearly and be able to discern who we actually want in our social circle, who is actually beneficial to us, who is toxic. Okay, so there's this kind of back and forth that goes on there. And yeah, so I think also with Anubis in that house, there's a sense that we are, if you are in a situation with somebody where you're saying, is it me or is it them? Okay. Generally, Anubis is saying it's not, you know, it's not you. I mean, you are seeing things for what they are. Sometimes we can be gaslit into thinking that something is a way other than what it actually is. But Anubis is definitely like, no, seeing things very clearly and knowing what to negotiate and what to walk away from. Okay, so there's a strong energy of that right now. Remember, this also is in terms of our goals. So right now, it may just be, if we don't feel like we can move forward, Anubis offers a certain modicum of protection from situations or elements that might be harmful to what it is that we're trying to nurture. In fact, it's interesting because I kind of almost see like these three ideas of trying to nurture new ideas, trying to move things forward. There's almost like a birth metaphor here. And seeing winged disc in the 8th house too, there's the idea of something that's waiting to be born. So that's quite interesting. I know we've been talking for several months on this live stream about how we feel like everything's in the birth canal, like it's waiting to be born and everybody's in labor and we're all kind of tired of it and just want to move on already. But I do feel like that moving on is definitely something that's coming up. And again, I feel like Mars and Leo might be part of that. That's next week. But once we get past the 18th, I feel like the worst of the energy is supposed to calm down after that. So maybe it's a reference to that, but we will see. Okay, 12th house, Pisces energy. Pisces has to do with our, what is it? The, basically areas, okay, where we can have self-doubt, areas where things are hidden. Piscean energy is where, you know, we have this imaginative kind of energy. It's the connection to our soul, connection to our energy of liberation. But this is also a house that has to do with, how can I put it? It's basically, it's both our potential for liberation and it's our potential for self-undoing. It's kind of both. Because when we're in an imaginative space that's a bit ungrounded, I mean, we can innovate and have new ideas, but we can also, there's also the sense that maybe we can, yeah, it's good to imagine and to dream big, but at some point it has to kind of be brought down to earth a little bit, like what actually is possible. Okay, now we have Crook and Flail here. Now the Crook and Flail card is about, okay, for one thing, it's about self-confidence. Okay, it's about how confident you are in yourself. It's about authority. It's about the way in which you are seen as an authority, or about the way in which you are seen. So I feel like there's a sense here of not doubting your own authority. Okay, not doubting, again, it's right next to Anubis, not doubting your abilities, not doubting what track you're on. I feel like there has been a lot of influences lately that have muddied the waters a lot. And again, if I'm just going to go by what's in this reading, some of these may come from old family scripts or old habits where we maybe have been taught something from very young or made to believe, have a limiting belief that we've had from our youth, whether that comes from our family. I mean, the implication here is that it is something that comes from family, judging from looking at this. But there's the idea that crook and flail has to do with, like, you know, being confident, like what you need to be seen for. And when it shows up in that 12th house, you may be kind of hiding. But sorry, I don't know who this weirdo is. But it's, yeah. So there's this definite sense of trying to, yeah. So we have this strong energy here of being confident and not letting others fill you with self-doubt. The fact that Anubis also shows up in the 11th house says to me that there's this, I don't know, how do I want to put it? I just feel like there's been a lot to make us doubt who we are. There's a lot here that's to make us think that we are not, it could be bringing up old material about what we value or about what we're striving for or about what our families have taught us about ourselves. You know, again, whether even if it's not directly our parents, it could be something that we're inherited from our grandparents, from different people. There's definitely this strong sense here of trying to stand in your own authority, right? Stand in your own power. And crook and flail implies a certain amount of self-discipline. There's something somewhat about not allowing yourself to be pulled off track. We had the 5 of Wands the other day, and there was the idea of focus, focus, focus. So yeah, there may be hidden things that may be kind of pulling our focus away. So we definitely want to focus on that. And overall, we've got Osiris. Okay. Osiris is a card of leadership. Osiris is a card of, what you call it? It's a card of stability. It's basically saying, you know, you're okay where you are. Things are, sometimes I always see it as a card of things not necessarily better at the moment, but they're not worse. Okay. So there may be a sense that you're in a place where you just need to kind of plant your feet on the ground and try to take all the information that's coming in from your intuition in order to be able to make a judgment. Osiris is a bit like the Emperor in the tarot, but there's a sense of needing to sort of take control of things. There's a need to, or it's just a sense that maybe you are in control or more in control than you think. Osiris also implies leadership. Okay. So basically it's kind of telling us to keep, I almost feel like, okay, like there's certain mythologies of walking through the underworld. And like if I think of the myth of Eros and Psyche, Psyche, when she goes to the underworld, what she is told is not to listen to the voices around her, no matter what they say, just to keep going forward and, you know, not to listen to everything in the background. So when you're going through the underworld, don't listen to all those voices around you, you know, metaphorically speaking, of course. But when we're going through that, it's just like, no, you've got to keep focused on what your task is, on what your purpose is, and not let all these other voices draw you into different directions. And yeah, that's feels like there's an exercise in that this morning. God, there's like some it's like all the bots are active this morning, or just all the people who have a lot of spare time. But I think the last thing we're going to do is I'm going to pull a Moonology card because it is the full moon. And let's see what we have today. So what's our message to this? Okay. We have a full moon in Gemini card. And the message on this one is the answers you need are coming. Okay. So yeah, I think we're in a space right now where things have not been clear. Messages have not been able to be trusted. There's a lot that has been kind of really screwing with us. But yeah, the things that we've been waiting on, the things that we've been unsure about, that we've been ruminating on, where we need to kind of get there. This is basically saying, yeah, that the things that have not been clear, we're going to be moving into a space where now we're going to be able to see where things are going. So yeah, so I think it's just, I think if I was going to give the overall tone of the reading for today, I want to say that we're definitely in a space where we still may be negotiating things. We may be negotiating things from our past, from a long past in our lives, maybe even things that we believed in since childhood. But there's a sense of keeping your feet on the ground and understanding that things are not clear right now, but to trust the process for a little bit, and also to trust our intuition that what's in front of our eyes may not totally be reliable yet, but we are being guided through that. Okay. And again, don't lose your focus on where it is that you're going. And have a little patience, because we are really getting close to the end of this period of difficulty. So anyway, that's it for me today. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm not going to be on tomorrow because I don't do Sundays, but I will be back again on Monday. And I may make some changes to this live stream where YouTube does have a thing where you may have to sign something before you come into the chat. So just people who are regulars on here, I'm thinking actually of implementing that, where you have to sign off on something before you actually can come into the live chat room. And it's usually just one time. It's not like you have to do it every time. Once your username has done it, you don't have to do it again. But yeah, so I might do that for Monday. So just so everybody knows. Okay. So everybody, I hope you have a good rest of your Saturday. Some of you I will see later this morning, actually, for the workshop we're doing today.